Hey guys, it's Ellen and welcome to my channel. Today we're working on a fun, super loose, easy, atmospheric kind of like daisy field. I go over this step by step, so don't freak out, and there's an actual reference photo to go by. Super easy, anyone beginner or intermediate can try this. We're going to splatter paint, we're going to wash in paint, we're going to paint in some stems, and play around, maybe removing paint, so we have that bokeh style. Check out my Patreon. Also, I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials, and a live stream in the top tier. It's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. And you can check it out with the little eye in the top right-hand corner. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, guys, for this simple and fun and easy tutorial, I'm going to go over some of my supplies. I have a piece of Arch 100% cotton cold pressed paper. I taped down with Scotch Magic tape on a piece of just a thick cardboard. I think this is like a 7 by 10 inch piece. I'm going to be using this new masking fluid pen that I got. I have a link in the description box for it also. I thought I would play with something that's a little bit easier than painting, right? Drawing sometimes a lot easier. And we're just going to be doing simple, like, neutral colors. I gave you a reference photo, which is this wild and free daisy, wild daisies, very neutral colors. You see, like, there's a lot of browns and beiges and creams and stuff like that, just to keep things like fun and easy. And then I would recommend having some gouache. So paints will be using, we'll mix up some browns. It could be yellow browns. You can actually have a brown. You can have like a sepia. You can have a brown umber. You can mix all the kinds of colors. And I got a new Princeton number 8 long round. Yay! I like having new brushes. Nice super sharp points. I'll probably be using this for a lot of these simple stems that are coming up here. So, there's no need for any kind of traceable in this. You guys, I'm sure you guys can draw a daisy, right? That's why having this masking pen is easy. Obviously, I have paper towels. I'm sorry. Paper towels close by because I'll be painting too. And my water jars. So like I said, you're just going to see some of the daisies. I'm going to draw all of them because we're going to splat some like white, and then we're going to just paint that area as a daisy. So I might just put in some simple daisy flowers. I wouldn't all make them like facing forward. Zoom in a little bit so you can see better. You can see there's some that are like right here. This pen is so much fun. I mean, I feel a whole daisy. And if you can draw, like, this is the greatest thing to have if you want to do some cool masking fluid. Okay, simple daisies. Let me do some half ones. Much easier than painting, obviously, and it goes a little faster. I don't necessarily think you need to use the masking fluid for the stems because the stems are going to be like brown, but definitely for the little daisies. I do want to keep little white ones back here. It's just another tool to play around with. It's so much fun. I like to just try different things all the time. So let's try a pen masking fluid. You can do so many things with this pen masking fluid. Like I said, not necessarily for like all of this, but it's good to have. Maybe make some big, I don't see bigger ones of daisies on this side, but I'm just going to play around with myself. Just kind of drawing them in. Very simple to use. By the way, you have to push down a couple of times, to activate it. And then once you get it activated. So I'm just going to do a couple more of these. And then I'm going to let it dry. And then we're going to start washing in some simple color, splattering. And also, I'm sorry, I didn't mention, I'm going to be using this Liquitex acrylic ink as well. If you don't have that, white gouache can work just as easily. Just going to put some water in. You can start just put paint in too. You don't have to put just the water like I'm doing. But I'm playing around with that. See, I'm going to start adding that yellow color. It will dry lighter. I'm going to add some more water to really fade it out in the background here. Can do that. Just really light, creamy kind of yellow. Maybe add some of this other kind of brown. Maybe a little bit of orange tinge to it. Looks a little orangey in some parts. You could add pink. You know, there's no rules, guys. Might grab some magenta, water that down into that yellow so it's a little blushy. But I did want to keep it more in the monotone, so I'm going to go back, play around with browns. At this point, this is that brown green I was talking about. Now it's dry down here. I'm just going in and playing in with the browns and the greens and the neutral tint. See that? You know, another thing you can do is you can take, see, here's the burnt umber neutral tint. I'm going to put them really dark down here. Kind of grab that green color. It's really dark down here. More brown. Clean up my brush. I'm going to flip it upside down. Grab some water. Just kind of have it bleed. It's a lot of water. It's going to stop where the water stops. So we can have it bleed this way. You can keep adding in some deeper tones, some browns. Again, with this green, I'm going to make more green. And a little neutral tint. A little bit darker in these areas. And they can kind of bleed down too. We do want them a little darker if we're going to splatter that white. So you might want to make some more colors that are darker, denser colors. See, a little green, a little brown. Play around with this, guys. There's no rules. I need some yellow. Oh, that yellow, I didn't like that. So I'm going to go in and get some of that purple color tone to just tone that out. And you can kind of lift the paint too. See how I'm lifting it and I'm tapping it on a paper towel. I'm holding it on an angle too, by the way, so make it bleed. If you didn't notice that by now. Get back in here. I kind of like some burnt umber now. Now I want the burnt umber. Putting that color in. Okay, I'm going to lift it back. Now I end up looking a little more green than I wanted, so I'm going to go back in, kind of lift some of this paint. And get some of that pinky, yellowy tones. I didn't want green so much. I'm going to play around with this. Get back that yellow. Got a little too green for me. Right? If you want it more brown, get in the brown color. I'm going to lift up, taking my brush, clean water, lifting up this so I don't have a hard edge. See that? While it's still damp and wet. It looks nicer, a little much nicer than it was. And a little more brown down here. A little neutral tint in here. Okay, so it's very damp. And you can start to just kind of tap in around by the daisy too. Some colors. Again with this brown. Maybe this dark green down here. Well, it's still damp. See, I'm just kind of going like this. I'm adding a little bit of taps. You can kind of splatter a little bit. Be careful of this edge though. That's a hard edge. We can soften that in a bit. But I'm going to tap a little bit. Or you could just place it. It's just a little bit more easier to kind of like splatter it because it becomes haphazard, which is kind of what we wanted to do. See, just little taps. Little brown taps back here. Kind of bleeding. You can see like how it's very like blurry. I want that blurry kind of look. Right? Again, if it's too hard of an edge, just take the brush, clean water, just kind of push that edge. I'm tapping it back on the paper towel and softening that edge. I don't want a hard edge. See that? Softening it till it's almost white. And you can go back in here, fill this in with water. Just a little bit, not too much, so it bleeds softly. See how it's starting to bleed now up here? just a little bit of water. There. Okay, so we got this beautiful atmospheric kind of thing. And then we've got this titanium white. Ugh, doesn't want to work. And this paint kind of dried here. I'm going to add a little bit more color real quickly, because we want the paint to splatter a little bit down in here. Okay, so take a brush that's not such a fabulous brush. Take kind of like a crappy old brush you might have. I'll take this one. And then we can splatter in some of this white. It's going to repel. See that? Perfect. If they're big, it's good. Little ones up here. Oh yeah. Big one. Of course, the little one's over there. I wanted the big one over here. You can always kind of paint it too. There we go. See? I have a double one. I don't know if I wanted a double one like that. I could lift that up. Or offset it by putting, you can just tap it. See, I'm just tapping it and it will repel. You can see the little repel. Tap a little bit bigger, makes a bigger one. If you didn't want to splatter it, try tapping it. See? Tap, 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 tap. Little taps. It's just another thing you can do if you didn't want to splatter it. Tippy tap. Just make sure it's not a lot on the lot of paint on your brush. Tip, tip, tip. And try not to keep a lot down here. Just doing little tip taps. You can still splatter it too. You would have smaller ones in the background here. So little teeny ones in the back are nice and pretty when you splatter it. Looks like that little atmospheric kind of flower field, right? And like I said, we'll be painting in some of the daisies. So we have white gouache. You can go back in. Some of these ones down here. All right. I won't get too crazy. Rubber cement pickup, and you remove. So let's see how that pen worked out. I think it worked out okay. This is a real tough one to remove, huh? Anyway. All right, I had to use a little elbow grease to get that off. My God, I don't know why it's so sticky. So then look at that pretty yellow, excuse me, pretty daisies, and then we can just grab, I'm gonna clean up my yellow here, it's very dirty. We can grab some yellow watercolor. See how I'm cleaning my paints? Bad paints. Activate it with some water. And if we want to tone down the yellow a little bit, we can add a little blue, purple. Just tone it down a little bit. It's not so bright. Or you can even add, you know, a little orange to that, a little red, maybe a little magenta, teeny bit magenta. See, grab a little bit of magenta. I've got my Princeton 8 long round, my new one, yay. See, I'm gonna grab some more of that. So, we just put that, you know, the photograph shows it almost brown. If you wanted to add some of those browns, the green browns, to your yellow, or your brown tones. I'm going to play down, push down, and put down the yellow itself now and see if I like it. And of course, these petals would not look flat white. We're going to have to put in some tones in there, some values, so it doesn't look goofy. Just going to go in here and kind of fix some of those daisies with their centers. And the little like dots, you can just kind of throw in a little white, a little yellow center. It's so much fun to do this. Now we don't want to have this just completely white. I might take some of these colors we have here, water them down. I would have my paper towel close by. And kind of just, you know, add a little bit of that grays and browns, just a little bit to that, to the side of the petals, closer towards the center. Just not everywhere, just certain areas so that it doesn't look like this fake looking flower, you know? It wouldn't really be looking like this in nature. It would have some shadows. So you have these grays that I made up over here when we're painting. Just kind of add them close to the center, going outward, putting around that little center. See how I'm going to just kind of really loosely sticking it on some of the petals. It's a little too dark. I tap it on my paper towel, kind of remove the paint. But I want it to look natural. I don't want it to look fake. I mean, this is not like, oh, this one doesn't have a center. Here we go. Like I said, you didn't have to put yellow. You could. The photograph shows like more of a brown tone, but I'm going in and I'm just going to put in some of that nice little shading, little grays right around the petals so they don't look fake. We can't have them looking a little goofy after all that work we just did. See, some little shadows on the little petals. I'm just toning down this white a bit. You know it's white, right? And up here, you can add some more blues, but we really want to keep this in the neutral tones. I would say normally, you know, if it was like a multicolored kind of painting, you wouldn't do that. But I'm going in here, all the little daisies, all the colors we kind of played around with, just kind of filling them in on some of these petals. And then you can go and do the, like I said, make the stems look a little more predominant, like pronounced when it's dried. Don't have to do that. I've kind of like the atmospheric look of it all, right? You want to get more like atmospheric, so this is kind of nice bokeh. Take a brush. I've talked about this in a couple of my Christmas videos. Not a great brush, like a real kind of stiff kind of watercolor brush. This is where you remove the paint that you painted. Clean water. And you're just going to go like this with water on your brush. Circular motion. See? Kind of taking the paint and moving it. If you want to take the paper towel, you can lift the paint up that way. But you see? Don't get too harsh. You can use maybe more of a bristle brush. See that? And you've got that bokeh kind of feel to it. More atmospheric look. I want a slightly stiff brush. I mean, I don't know how stiff this brush is. I might have to find a stiffer brush. This one's a little stiffer. I want a good stiff brush. See? Moving out the paint. Watercolor. Take some water on your brush. Circular motion. Paper towel. And lift up the paint. And you got the nice atmospheric. Look, I think it looks like a pretty daisy field. Here I want it a little more atmosphere looking, so I will go in here and play around with, ooh, I got too much water. It's all playing game. You could add some gouache to it. So say, you know, I didn't come up with, it's not lifting with the watercolor. You can take some white gouache. I would water it down. And you can kind of add, see that? Now it's got a hard edge, and kind of you might not want that. Or even down here, you have some petals. You see, it's got translucent. You water that gouache down. I'd clean up the brush, and then just kind of soften the edges. See? And it won't look so harsh. And you've got that, again, that atmosphere. So you just take, this is another way to do it. You adding. So add the gouache, right? Clean off my brush. Just have some water on it. And then soften the edges. And then again, another way to do it. You can try and keep removing that hard edge. Just another way of playing around with that. And like here, I told you there was some like flower daisy sticking out there. Just play around with the petals on this one. Do it kind of like translucent. Anyway,